Parivrajagachajasto Darasatta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Hilabai Charanarvind Bhakti Vedāntists Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Giridhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki Sri Vrindavan Mathura Dhama ki Sri Dwarka Dhama ki Sri Jagannath Puri Dhama ki Sri Navadip Mayapur Dhama ki Sri Mayapur Chandradev Mandir ki Gangamayi Jamunamayi ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki Harinama Sankirtan ki Samavata Bhakti Vrinda ki Transcendental Book Distribution ki Jai Shri Sri Gauranitai ki Jai Shri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki Jai Sri Krishna Balaram ki Jai Sri Giri Govardhana ki Jai Sri Sri Radhamadava ki Jai Nitai Gaura Pimanande. All that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all that is to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutirivi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tirubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatm, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto his mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Actually, we'll begin reciting the English translation of the text that we generally recite only in Sanskrit. But I forgot one important part in this first translation. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatm, which is our very means of conquest, very important, means that the Srimad Bhagavatm, simply by hearing the Bhagavatam, we can conquer over everything, beginning with our own false ego, with our own self. Nasta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamaśloke bhaktir-ābhāti naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma-samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahad. This scripture named Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sri Surabhyai Namaha Om Sri Surabhyai Namaha Om Sri Surabhyai Namaha Mukam karoti vacharam pangum nangayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. We need to find another bench like this. We need to find another one, because tomorrow and every day when we have Bhagavatam class, Tulsi Devi should be here. But we have only this, and now the class is on this. Anyways, we can find some, or if you can find today some, like this actually is good. This one, but it's just too low, actually too low. Anyways, you find something tomorrow. Yeah. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Let's see here. Canto number 1, chapter 4. And today's text is
30.
30. Okay. We're getting close to the end.
Yesterday 28, 29 also.
Yes, okay. So text number 30, 4th chapter, entitled The Appearance of Sri Narada. Tathāpi bata me daihyo hi ātmā caivātmanā vibhuḥ asampanna ivābhāti brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ tathāpi bata me daihyo ātmā caivātmanā vibhuḥ asampanna ivābhāti brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ tathāpi bata me daihyo ātmā caivātmanā vibhuḥ asampanna ivābhāti brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ tathāpi bata me daihyo ātmā caivātmanā vibhuḥ asampanna ivābhāti brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ
tathāpi bata me daihyo ātmā caivātmanā
vibhuḥ
asampanna ivābhāti brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ
tathāpi bata me
daihyo
ātmā caivātmanā
vibhuḥ
asampanna ivābhāti
brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ
tathāpi bata me daihyo ātmā caivātmanā vibhuḥ asampanna ivābhāti brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ tathāpi bata me daihyo ātmā caivātmanā vibhuḥ asampanna ivābhāti brahma-varcasya sattamaḥ tathāpi although bata defect may mind daihyaḥ situated in the body he certainly ātmā living being cha and eva even ātmanā myself vibhuḥ sufficient asampannaḥ wanting in ivābhāti
ābhāti.
ivābhāti.
It appears to be
It appears to be
brahma-varcasya
brahma-varcasya
of the Vedāntists,
of the Vedāntists.
sattamaḥ,
Sattamaḥ,
the Supreme.
the Supreme.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I am feeling incomplete, though I myself am fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. Kindly repeat after me. I am feeling incomplete,
I am feeling incomplete,
though I myself
though I myself
am fully equipped
am fully equipped
with everything
with everything
required by the Vedas.
required by the Vedas.
Purport. Undoubtedly, Srila Vyasadeva was complete in all the details of Vedic achievements. Purification of the living being, submerged in matter, is made possible by the prescribed activities in the Vedas. But the ultimate achievement is different. Unless it is attained, the living being, even though fully equipped, cannot be situated in the transcendentally normal stage. Srila Vyasadeva appeared to have lost the clue and therefore felt dissatisfaction. Translation again. I am feeling incomplete, though I myself am fully equipped with everything required in the Vedas. Yes. So interesting point being made here actually, that Srila Vyasadeva is, this is after spending so much time actually writing the Vedic literatures. And, you know, the very word Veda means knowledge. And he wrote all the Vedic literatures, including culminating in what is called Vedanta Sutra. We were explaining how Vedanta Sutra is summarizing the essence actually of Vedic knowledge in code form, aphorism, short sentences that are full of meaning. Yeah, just like the first aphorism of Vedanta Sutra, atato brahma-jigyasa. Atato brahma-jigyasa. Now that we have acquired this human form of life, it is imperative that we inquire as to what is the goal of life, what is the purpose of life. So the point being made here actually, this is a very unusual situation actually, because Srila Vyasadeva is not an ordinary person. But here he's expressing his feeling of incompleteness. I'm feeling incomplete, though I myself am fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. So it means that anyone can read the Vedas, but still not feel fully satisfied. Why? Because there's so many prescribed activities mentioned in the Vedas, how to purify our lives. So many different yagyas that one can perform, so many different types of austerities, which are all meant to actually bring us out of our conditional state. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes the point that actually being familiar with or knowing and even practicing all of these different prescribed rules and regulations that are there in the Vedic literatures, although that is good, but that is different from actually achieving the end result. It's like all of us are chanting Hare Krishna. We're practicing various activities of devotional service. But the ultimate result is that actually we experience and feel full satisfaction by performing those activities in such a way that we will achieve our goal. And what is our goal? Our goal actually is to, and this will be explained in the verses to come. As a matter of fact, I think in the very next verse, our goal ultimately is to reconnect with Krishna, isn't it? Now we're trying to reconnect with Krishna by hearing about Krishna, by chanting the holy name, all of these different activities that we perform every day. The real test is, depending on how we are applying ourselves in these different practices, the real test is, are we developing our love for Krishna? Are we developing what is called namaruchi? Are we developing a taste, isn't it? A taste for chanting Hare Krishna? Are we really becoming lovers of Krishna? And that only us individually we can understand. And it is only when we come to that platform that, isn't it, we as spirit souls can actually become fully satisfied, because actually it's like this, very much connected actually with the very nice 3 levels explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regarding development of knowledge, isn't it? Beginning with what is called sambandha gyan, the knowledge of relationship. Knowledge of relationship, now we're all attending Bhagavatam class because we know that we are, as devotees, trying to revive our Krishna consciousness. So one of the very highly recommended ways is to regularly, as we were just reciting earlier, to regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatm class instructions. So based on our knowledge of understanding, we have some understanding that we are spirit souls meant to gradually awaken our Krishna consciousness. So therefore we, knowing something about our spiritual self, therefore the next step is we perform activities. So from sambandha, from the knowledge of relationship, we come to the knowledge of activities. Abhideya. Sambandha gyan, abhideya gyan. Abhideya gyan means all kinds of activities based on sambandha. People who don't know that they're spirit souls, who have no interest to know also, they don't come to Bhagavatam class. They don't chant Hare Krishna. They don't see the value, isn't it? I mean, so many people think that, like in Marxist philosophy, famous statement by Karl Marx that religion is the opium of the people. Actually, sports are the opium of the people, and television is the opium of the people, and gambling is the opium of the people, not religion. Opium of the people, it just puts everyone in people are addicted and become, the claim is that people become in this way disconnected, just like when somebody becomes intoxicated, drunk, he loses contact with reality. So that was, communism, that's the philosophy, that if you practice religion, you lose contact with reality. So many people, of course, in the name of religion, people have done so many bad things and continue to do many bad things also. But that's because of wrong understanding of what is actually religion. And so some people who have a poor fund of knowledge, they believe that it's better to reject everything as opposed to fixing what's wrong, So it's like if you have a car and you have a flat tire and you conclude that, well, the best thing is to just, get a new car. Well, that's not very intelligent. You just fix a car, fix the tire or whatever might be wrong with the car. So, Sambandha Gyan, if we have proper understanding of Sambandha Gyan, we will have proper understanding of what activities, what is Abhideya Gyan, knowledge of proper activities. And this is very interesting actually because proper knowledge or knowledge of proper activities, again, it is based on the first one, right? On knowledge of relationship. So, knowledge of proper activity includes knowledge of proper spiritual activities, like attending Bhagavatam class and chanting, and also knowledge of proper material activities. Knowledge of proper material occupations that we should take up in this material world. Knowledge of proper lifestyle, isn't it? So we were talking, I guess you didn't come, we had the program, maybe, were you there?
Yes, I came. Yes.
Oh, you came there, okay, a lot of people. Anyways, proper knowledge of proper activity. Majority of people have forgotten actually what is proper lifestyle. So we were talking about, the whole theme was on simple living and high thinking. When we don't understand the knowledge of proper activity in the context of simple living and high thinking, it is because we are missing, we are lacking something about Sambandha Gyan. We don't realize how the material energy which is surrounding us and that we are having to utilize every day, there is a particular way that Krishna wants us to relate to that material activity. There is a particular way that Krishna wants us to utilize that material energy. There is a particular way that Krishna wants us to do farming, to bring it real down to earth, down to earth, ground reality. There is a particular scientific, authorized way stated and explained by Krishna how to utilize Mother Nature, how to work with Mother Nature, actually how to serve Mother Nature, how to serve Mother Nature, how to serve Mother Cow, as well. So this is based, it begins actually with sampanna gyan. When we're missing something in sampanna gyan, we will be missing many things in abhidheya gyan. And when we miss activities of in the category of abhidheya gyan, knowledge of proper activity, obviously we will not achieve the proper destination or goal. So this point is being made here actually, that Srila Vyasadeva was very familiar with all of the Vedic knowledge, all of the rules and regulations, and because the Vedic literatures are vast, so he spent a lot of time writing so many different, the different sections actually of the Vedic knowledge. But in doing that, at the end, after putting all of that in writing, he was, as we're reading here, feeling despondent, like incomplete, not satisfied. And then the clue, of course, will be revealed tomorrow. The clue will be revealed tomorrow in the next verse. And that is very much connected with this third level of knowledge. We may have some knowledge of sambandha. We may have some knowledge of abhidheya. But if this does not bring us to prayojana gyan means that realized knowledge, or the goal and destination that follows sambandha and abhidheya, then we will naturally feel incomplete or despondent, as Srila Vyasadeva is feeling. In one sense, actually, it also means that although the Vedic knowledge is ideal knowledge, it is the ideal knowledge, it is the best knowledge, it is the most complete knowledge, there is a danger of getting lost in that knowledge, and sometimes overly focusing on, especially on certain aspects of the material knowledge that is revealed there. And sometimes devotees actually have some reluctance. Sometimes devotees have reluctance to speak about varnashram, thinking that, I will, this will take me away from the real thing. But actually the opposite is there. I've heard this excuse or argument presented that Maharaj, if devotees have to start going and living off the land, and then all of our energy is going to be in planting potatoes and tomatoes, and then we're not going to think about Krishna. We're not going to have time to chant Hare Krishna, etc. This is a false understanding, you see. Most of the occupations that the devotees are having today are actually doing that, keeping them away from Krishna, because it's the working conditions are not at all ideal for remembering Krishna. The working hours, many of those who are working in IT companies, the world of software companies, they have to work very, very long hours.
All night they are working.
And even all night, yes, right, they work all night. This is most, I met one of our congregational members many years ago in Secunderabad, and he was telling me, I couldn't believe it, he was telling me that for the last 35 years, he was working night shift. For the last 35 years, every night he would not sleep because he was working. That's, This is like crazy. It is unnatural. You see. And so what is more natural is that you rise, before the sun rises, and you take rest soon after the sun takes rest. Sun takes rest to give us a little hint that, hey, I'm bringing darkness now, so it's time to kind of wind up your activities and also take rest and start afresh, the next day. So therefore, it means that we are not we're not properly hearing. We're not properly understanding. By not properly hearing, we're not properly understanding. We're not properly meditating on what we're hearing. Obviously, whatever is given in the Bhagavatam, whatever is spoken by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, must be true, no? It's dealing with eternal knowledge. It's dealing with eternal truth. So therefore, that's why society and governments, they should be basing their, let's say, principles of life based on these non-changing principles that are there in the Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam and Vedic knowledge in general is based on eternal knowledge, sanatan dharma, unchanging knowledge. Is it not better and more logical to just work on something that is unchanging than having to change all the time and not really knowing what you're doing, which is actually what's going on and taking place? It's like some kind of prominent person, I suppose, here in India was mentioning how it's time for a revolution in India. He was somebody sent me a small clipping. He was I don't know the person's name, but he was telling how actually everyone should be removed from their position. He went more than that, further than that, and it's time for a revolution, and we need a new constitution. So the idea is that we have seen this. We see this all the time. It's like we call repeated history. History repeats itself. Whenever we perform activities or do things based on imperfect knowledge, ultimately it boils down to that. Therefore, at some point, it will break. It will not sustain, and that is what is happening, practically speaking, all over the world, and therefore, so important for us to understand and also to convey to people in general that actually the Vedic culture is based on very, very practical, very reasonable, very logical, very scientific knowledge that we can see, that we can experience directly. And therefore, when we follow this system and the knowledge that is given in the Shastra, then we don't need to change. And this is, Prabhupada used to say about his Western disciples, this is the disease of the Westerners. This is the disease of the Westerners. They want to change all the time. Something, they want to break something, they want to change. And in one lecture, I think Prabhupada was so many times repeating, no change, So in many ways, yeah, we follow this philosophy of no change. We don't change the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's not that after a few months or a few years, let's bring in another mantra, we get, no. We don't change the content of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is eternal knowledge, isn't it? So if one is fortunate to come in contact, to begin understanding the purport, what that actually means, then it's like it's a complete. It will bring a complete transformation actually in one's life. That I found something that actually is going to fulfill all of my needs and desires and completely be fulfilling because it's the absolute truth. And of course, so many people nowadays, they've become skeptic and they are rejecting the absolute truth. Just like, even great personalities or known personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, he wrote a book called My Experiments with the Absolute. My Experiments with the Absolute Truth. You don't experiment with the absolute truth, Either you accept it or you reject it. So very convenient to say that there's no absolute truth. But no one can say that absolutely. So therefore, just to summarize here, Prabhupada is nicely explaining that purification of the living being submerged in matter is made possible by the prescribed activities of the Vedas, in the Vedas. But the ultimate achievement is different. So practicing all of these activities, as we mentioned earlier, that is good. But the perfection of those activities must bring us to the goal or the conclusion, which is ultimately to develop our love for Krishna. And Prabhupada would explain how the test in our Krishna consciousness is how much we are becoming detached from this material world and developing our attachment to Krishna. Comments or questions? Okay.
Here, before...
yeah, it's okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Before writing this, compiling this Bhagavatam,
yes,
he did not consult Narada Muni or someone. He himself put like this.
So the question is, before writing these Vedic literatures, he did not consult with anybody. The explanation or the way it is explained in the Bhagavatam we read just recently was that he was sitting in meditation one morning and seeing the different irregularities and anomalies. Then he felt that because of this bad age of Kali Yuga, which is beginning, then on his own he felt that people in Kali Yuga will not be able to understand this Vedic knowledge, and therefore it's better that it should be put into writing.
He did not consult his father, Parashara Muni.
It's not directly mentioned actually in the Shastra. It's an interesting point you're making, because normally before someone writes something, one consults actually with other authorities. personality like Srila Vyasadeva was already an empowered, personality, and it's generally, it is generally understood actually that one who is a sadhu or a preacher, then it is part of the duty or responsibility that inherits from the line of disciplic succession, is that he needs to find ways and means by which to make people God conscious. So it's not that every single moment and whatnot one needs to but then, as will be shown in the next few verses, then his spiritual master actually will be appearing and giving him some specific instruction in that respect.
Indirectly, he is also incarnation of Lord Krishna only.
Not indirectly, directly. He's directly described actually as the literary incarnation.
Krishna Dvaipayana is called.
Yeah. Yeah. We have one or two questions here. One question here. Can our sambandha with the Lord be complete if we don't develop sambandha with devotees, land, and cows? It is not complete. It cannot be complete. How can you love Krishna and not love his cows? How can you love Krishna and not love his devotees? As a matter of fact, Krishna says, those who claim to love me but don't love my devotees, then this is not,
He'll be very happy if he serves devotees.
Yeah.
Not being like very much happy.
Those who claim to be my devotees but don't serve my devotees are not actually my devotees. So this is a very nice explanation given, I believe, by Lord Shiva in terms of what is the highest form of worship. Aradhanam sarvesham, this one verse, Vishnu aradhanam param. And the highest form of worship, as we know, is Vishnu. Parvati was asking Lord Shiva, what is the ultimate object of worship? And then he began to explain that of all the different forms of worship, Vishnu is the highest, param. But higher than the worship of Vishnu are things in relation to Vishnu. His devotees, his cows, Tulsi Devi, so many things. So that means a lack of understanding of what is actually sambandha. Sambandha has to do with relationship, isn't it? So this is a very critical point, because it's the beginning point. It's the beginning point in spiritual life, sambandha, which begins like the very, very beginning point of that is aham brahmasmi. We are spirit souls. We are different than this body. But then beyond that, there are so many things regarding sambandha that we need to learn, that we need to know. And when we are lacking in sambandha, then we will fail to understand the relationship, our relationship ultimately. We will fail to understand our relationship with other aspects which are very dear to Krishna and which are part of sambandha. You see. And part of that, of course, is the Krishna's Krishna, who is represented through his different energies. Because in one sense, the energy and the energetic, or the energy and the source of energy, are the same. And that's why when we do not understand about Krishna's material energy, when we fail to appreciate Krishna's material energy, when we fail to reciprocate and interact with Krishna's material energy, which has to do especially with land, for example, land which means agriculture, land which means forest, which means so many things actually connected with land. When we fail to know what is meant to be our relationship also with this material nature, with Krishna's cows, when we are unaware, unconscious of what is taking place, we were touching on that at the program just day before yesterday. When we as devotees are unconcerned, unaware of all of the atrocities that are being committed all around us, but we don't see it. All the atrocities and the neglect and the abuse and exploitation that is taking place in terms of Mother Bhumi, in terms of Mother Cow, in terms of Mother Saraswati. I was mentioning how Goddess of Learning, we recite every day, isn't it? Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatm, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning. Goddess of Learning is definitely not happy how knowledge is being abused in modern day education. When we're not understanding or conscious of this, it means we have problems, serious problems with our sambandha. And in many ways, within any organization, including ISKCON, when there are problems on the level of sambandha, there will be so many other problems, isn't it? Automatically, naturally. When there are defects in sambandha, then there will be so many defects in abhideya, in activities. There will be, in other words, improper activities. And automatically it means that we will not reach our different goals that have been set out by our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. So therefore, so many, all problems within any organization stem and begin from sambandha. The science of relationship, knowledge of relationship, of proper relationship, and this knowledge and science of proper relationship must include simultaneously both the spiritual and the material level. Otherwise, we're living in, la la land. We're not grounded. We are not understanding what is actually dharma. We are idealistic, unrealistic, because we cannot deny, we cannot simply close our eyes to the dimension of what is happening around us. We also, as devotees, have a direct responsibility for everything that belongs to Krishna, isn't it? The whole material world belongs to Krishna. whole material energy is created by Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matas sarvam pravartati iti madhva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Those who have good intelligence will understand what that actually means. So therefore, there's a need to more attentively hear, more attentively read what is explained, especially in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The first canto, Prabhupada would explain that we must systematically study the Srimad Bhagavatam. We must begin at the lotus feet of the Lord. And those lotus feet are actually contained in the first and second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the basic understanding, the basic premise, the basic knowledge of sambandha is actually being presented. I think we have to close again today. Thank you very much. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Swami Maharaj ki Jai.